your hoist switch, so that's to activate the hoist on the outside. You got your sling, which is when you're slinging, and your mirror, de-ice, and wipers. If we turn the wipers on, you can see wipers start going. Okay, we'll turn them off. Okay, and the other thing we need to do before we depart is landing lights. So we are pretty much set up to fly. Cool. Okay, so what we're going to have a look at now is the dynamics for flying. Okay, so what you're going to see is I'm going to start to lift off into a taxi, and we're going to have a look at what's going on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my settings to what most people should have their settings on when they first start flying helicopters, and that is all of the settings, the assistance turned on. Now, we spoke about this a minute ago, vortex ring state. So when it happens when we're descending too quickly or going too slow, and basically that's going to put us into a spin and throw us into the ground. We don't want that, okay? And that's what you've got to be really careful of. And I treat this, when I fly these, I treat them like I do my motorbike, which is everything wants to kill me. If you can fly like that, where you think everything's going to kill you, you'll be right on. So half hour into the stream, we've still not taken off, okay, but we've now got a good understanding of what all of these gauges do and the actual control surfaces of our aircraft, okay? Now, a lot of people think, oh yeah, we'll just jump on, and they're like, they don't understand exactly what's happening. Why do we talk about that? So we spoke about a minute ago about why we have a tail rotor. Let's have a look what the aircraft does when I just slightly put some collective in. Okay, so just so you're aware, this is the collective lever here. As we pull up on the collective lever, that main rotor head, all the swash plates that we spoke about at the beginning, both swash plates are going to lift up. Okay, it's going to change the pitch of all of our blades, and our aircraft's going to want to go up. As we push the collective lever down, the opposite happens. The aircraft wants to go down. Again, we spoke about the cyclic. If I do this, watch what the aircraft does. If I go left, see how it wants to turn left. If I turn right, it wants to go right, forwards and backwards. Okay, so be really careful now, bearing in mind that when you have the assists on and you're working on a controller, which is what I'm doing, they're very snatchy. Okay, but they will change the angle of drive on the blades. So what happens then if I start to take off and this happens? So as I pull up on the collective, I'm going to have my hands completely off the controls. Okay, so I am adding power, and on the Xbox, on the PS5 controller, you do that by pressing X, and it is extremely, how can I put it? It's not good. I struggle with it because it's click, 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 click. So watch what's happening now. So a slight bit of lift that we've generated here. The nose is wanting to turn right. If I add a bit more, watch what happens. Come back here. Now this is me not doing anything. To be fair, that's not what I was expecting. I expected it to spring around a little bit. But we can see here the aircraft is slowly, it wants to turn right a little bit, okay? Now usually what will happen is when if I could come back onto the floor and we do get that spin in, we counter that with a little bit of anti-torque. So we use our pedals, okay? Now, at the moment, bearing in mind that we have got AI helping us, let's demonstrate that better with the assistance. And we'll turn these off for a minute. Assisted tail rotor, that's all we need to help with at the moment. So now look what happens as we start to lift. Again, a few notches off. Let's see if it is realistic. You can see, there you go. There's that spin. Now, if I leave that, it's just going to keep spinning me around. Okay, so that's really important that when we take off, let's put these back on, that when we do apply that power, you've got to understand that torque reaction is going to be increased, so we need to apply tail rotor. Okay, and we do that by applying it in the opposite direction. So if the nose wants to fly left, we push on the right one. So as we take off, and again, all you need to do to achieve a hover on this aircraft is just tap, 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 X. Okay, if you've got a controller, as in like the Hotus 4 or Thrustmaster or whatever you use, you're going to need to have, let me just park that one talking. you need to apply a little bit of twist or whatever it is you're using, or a little bit of rudder pedal. Okay, so let's get a little bit of twist on here, and let's get a little bit of the aircraft up, and you see that now. We're just going to lift up into a hover. Okay, and I'm going to take my hands off the controls, and I'm going to let the aircraft settle. Okay, the aircraft doesn't want to settle, the aircraft wants to fly itself. Okay, so let's steady that up again, and we'll come back down. The aircraft at the moment has got a mind of its own, so we'll settle this back here, and we'll talk a little bit about it now. So that still wants to fly left, so we'll control that. Tell you what, let me check to make sure that I turn this off, because I don't want you guys... here we go. Let's put these back on, because I want everyone experiencing the same thing. So let's get that back down, and we will talk through it again. So see how much easier it is now. Always start off with the controls with your AI on it, and then when you get better, let's start taking them off. So again, this will enable you to get into a nice steady hover. We're going to bring it down nice and slowly so we don't damage the landing gear. We'll talk about the hover in just a second. So let's bring it down again. Cool. Right, okay, so let's look at this. And because I didn't have the assistance on a minute ago, that's why I went a little bit crazy. Because I did say that I was going to take my hands off the controls, and I did, and that's the thing. We're going to take the controls. We're going to lift it. So again, little gentle notches on your collective. So if I go here and show you what I'm doing, I'm literally pressing X, X, X. Okay? What's going to happen is the aircraft's going to want to lift. Just 2 notches is enough to put it 2 foot in the air. Now this is where my hands are off the controls, and look what it's doing. It's moving me to my right, so I need to add a little bit of right movement. Okay, and we'll stop that, and then you need to bring it back. Now the issue with when you're trying to hover is that if I put that right movement in, it's going to want to stay, it'll keep moving now, so you have to correct it. So every movement you put in, you need to oppose again. Now these aircraft, these Airbus, they naturally, you can see it doing that now, it wants to move left. Okay, so all you do is really light movement to the right. Okay, and then you can get that. So if we look at what that looks like in here, you can see that I'm using a reference point now, and that we're going to use this truck here. That truck's not going to move, and I'm going to keep my nose in line with that, and all I'm doing, watch the controls, gentle nudges, and that is it. That's all you need. Now some people have the tendency, unfortunately, to think it's a plane and want to rang it over, and that's what's going to happen. You're going to break it. Okay, so we don't do that. Every movement that you do in a helicopter is gradual. So we'll bring it back up again, and you'll see here that before I start to lift, I'm getting my pitch right, I'm setting it up, and I'll lift. Okay, and again we'll come back outside. You can see it wants to move, so you counter it. Okay, and what you can do is practice that. You can see that at the moment the helicopter is just lifted into the air, so 1 notch off the collective. Sometimes this aircraft does have a tendency to lift itself up, but again we manage, we look at what's happening with the aircraft. So I'm again hands off the controls here, and it's settling nicely. Now that bounce is a good thing. You can see the aircraft bouncing. When we get inside you can see it more. That's a good thing. Okay, and it's quite realistic. Reason why it's bouncing is the rotor blades are pushing air onto the floor, and that that air is pushing back up into your rotor disc. Okay, so we look at it like this. We've got a nice stable hover now, and again I'm using anything that's stuck and still as a reference. You can see we're moving to the right and to the left. So what do I need to do? I need to put a bit forward and moving rear and right. I need to put forward and left. Now what you notice there is it landed itself. Okay, I had no input into the controls then. These helicopters have a tendency, and most of the ones that I've flown, to have a little bit of a mind of its own when you've got the AI on, because the AI will have inputs that often, sometimes don't make sense, but they're trying to help you. Okay, so just be aware of that. You might have it in a nice stable hover. Let's get it back into the hover. But you still need to be aware of what the aircraft's doing. So the hover and the technique to the hover is pretty easy. You set your power first, and you just counter everything that's happening. So I can see that the aircraft's moving to the left, so I'm going to counter it a bit right. Now it's moving to the right, counter a bit left, etc. So using something, so I'm looking now at that building, I'm keeping it in that viewpoint. Okay, that is the picture I want to keep. You can see my aircraft's flying up. Bearing in mind I'm not touching the collective at all. That's what it wants to do. So all you need to do is find an airport that you can just practice Okay, and all you want to do is sit there for a couple of minutes and just practice that hover. Once you've nailed that, what you can do is you can practice moving. So at the moment now, I want to move, bearing in mind there's a tree there, I want to move along this line. So if I want to move along this line, again, put your view set, and all you have to do, very slight movement to the right. Okay, there's that really slight movement. If you have a look now, the aircraft's coming right, really slight movement, and we're moving to the right. And again, coming along that line. Okay, you want to stop that, you put a little bit of left in. Okay, exactly the same if you want to move left. Very slowly, although this aircraft moves to the left itself, it'll take you left. Exactly the same if you want to go forwards and backwards. Again, look at how small these movements are. A little back action, see that there? You can't even see it, it's that small. There it is. If you have a look now, the aircraft will move backwards. And a little forwards, if I leave it, tiny little forward nudge, it wants to go forwards, okay? That is literally the limit of your controls that you need to do. Okay, you do not need to put anything more than that in. Perfect. Okay, so now what we're going to practice, we're going to practice yawing. So when we yawing is when we move our rudder pedals, the aircraft's going to want to move around that plane. Now, if you do it quite slowly, the aircraft will predominantly stay in that hover where it wants to go, or where it wants to be. It wants to be in that hover, it's quite comfy there, and you can pretty much yaw right and left quite easily. Look what happens when I put the pressure in and do it really fast, we start spinning out of control. Okay, where we've got the tail assist on here, it's helping us and it's making it very, very snatchy. Okay, but you can see there how stable the AI is in helping you, because we're kind of staying in the same direction. Okay, now if I was inside that aircraft, I'd be dizzy now. Okay, so it is quite, once you've got the AI assistance on, it's quite easy. The next thing we need to do is look at going up and down. We've already spoken about that a little bit. It's that collective lever. One notch, look at what difference it makes. It's about half a foot, but it want to keep doing that now. 2 notches, it's taking us that little bit higher. Okay, bearing in mind that with that, if you had all the assistance on, then it would also increase the torque reaction and it would want you to move. You saw then though that as I put more power on, you can see the aircraft's now flying. That's not me putting that in. The aircraft wants to move. Okay, so again, the more power you put in, the more you're actually going to have to deal with that power. Okay, so let's taxi. So again, to taxi, we've already done this. Get yourself nice and yawed. A bit too much. Again, snap your controller, and we go a little bit of forward motion, and we let the aircraft take itself away. Okay, now if we go inside the aircraft, what does that look like? Literally, I'm just edging very, very slowly and really small little inputs. You can see it there on the cyclic stick. This being the cyclic stick, you can see those little movements, okay? If you do anything more than that and you start putting more speed through the head, the aircraft's going to want to climb, okay? We'll show you that on the takeoff in a minute. But you can see here, little tiny movements, and just take your time until you're used to it, okay? And we'll go from the outside view so you can see it, and all you're going to do is you're going to turn. Again, this is really, really snatchy. I've got very sensitive controls. As soon as I put a little bit of, you can see that aircraft, there you go, it's having its mind of its own. As soon as you've got the aircraft that wants to move, it will move. Again, I haven't put an input into the collective, it just pulls itself up. So what do we need to do? 1 notch, and it'll come back down again. Okay, so there's that 1 notch. Typically it's not doing anything I want to do. And the reason for this is now we have hit that height where we kind of have to drive through the collective down. What's happening now is, I wonder if I can turn on the assistance to show you, hopefully it will, watch what the air is doing around the aircraft. Let's have a look. How do you turn that on? There is a way. Where is it? General, that I can see the airflow. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Artificial organization, fluid dynamics. Okay, here we go. So let's have a look at what the aircraft's doing. So it's aerodynamic visualization. So let's turn that on.